Welcome to this online presentation on the Regional District of Central Kootenay's Draft Resource Recovery Plan, Less is More, Services and Solutions for Reducing Waste. What is a resource recovery plan? Under the Environmental Management Act, every regional district in BC must prepare a resource recovery plan or a solid waste management plan that is a long-term vision of the regional solid waste management system, that considers the 10-year financial and administrative implications of that plan, and adopts pollution prevention hierarchy, which is reduce, reuse, recycle, recovery, and residuals management, the garbage that is left at the end of reduce, reuse, recycle, and recovery that typically goes to a landfill. The regional district has assembled a project planning team consisting of consultants, myself, Carrie McIver, and my colleague Maura Walker from Maura Walker and Associates, as well as staff from the Regional District of Central Kootenay, the Resource Recovery Plan Advisory Committee, and the Joint Resource Recovery Committee. The process to update the plan consists of 3 phases. In phase 1, which started in 2017, we established the Resource Recovery Plan Advisory Committee. We started to assess the existing system, undertook a community survey to see how residents were satisfied with the current system and what they wanted to see in the future, and developed a web page for the Resource Recovery Plan update process. Phase 2, which started in 2018 and we're currently finishing, considered options for the future: waste diversion, zero waste, residual waste, what garbage is going to landfill, policy and regulations, financing, and established the tools for community access and input, which is what we're doing right now in phase 3, public consultation, obtaining your feedback on preferred options. And finally, based on that feedback, the Resource Recovery Plan will be finalized, submitted to the board for approval, and then submitted to the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy for final approval. Within the regional district, there are 3 resource recovery sub-regions: the West sub-region, the Central sub-region, and the East sub-region. And taken together in these 3 sub-regions, there are 3 active landfills, 13 waste transfer stations, 23 recycling depots, and 2 composting facilities, which will be constructed this summer. Looking at the 5-year trend of operating and capital expenses, we can see that costs are going up. They're going up to provide new services like new recycling depots, or to improve environmental protection at the landfills under the new landfill criteria. Taking a snapshot of this year, we can see for each of the sub-regions, the bar charts show capital and operating. And the operating is what is important to see, that the capital could be one time, is not every year, but operating is ongoing. The operating budget is near $12 million a year. So this is a rather large resource recovery system. These costs are recovered in each of the subregions slightly differently. Costs are recovered through taxation, that's the blue, tipping fees, grants, borrowing, reserves, or other. And as you can see, in each one of the regions, it's slightly different. Look in the Central subregion with a $12.6 million budget, big grants, and that's coming to build the compost facility. Similarly for the East subregion. The resource recovery system has rather significant staffing requirements. There are 7 managerial, technical, or supervisory positions and 83 operating positions. It is a very complex system. In 2020, the system disposed of 31,097 tons of garbage, which equates to a disposal rate of 490 kilograms per capita. And based on waste composition studies, we can see that 37% of the waste still going to landfill would be recyclable and 40% compostable. And the largest component of what's going to landfill is food waste. To compare the Regional District of Central Kootenay to other regional districts, we can look at the 2018 Regional District disposal rates. Every regional district has to report to the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy annually on their disposal rates. This is the most recent number. The provincial average was 505 kilograms per capita. The provincial long-term target is 350 kilograms per capita on average. Not every regional district will make 350. The ministry expects every regional district to do their best to reduce as much as possible. In 2018, the RDCK was at 469 kilograms per capita. That's below the provincial average, but there are still many regional districts that are getting closer to the 350 target. So what are the key issues in this plan update? First of all, food waste is the largest component of the waste stream at 26%. Only 42% of households have curbside collection. The recycling depot system is not well funded by Recycle BC. The resource recovery system is complex and expensive with many moving parts. And cost recovery needs to be fair and equitable while incentivizing diversion. So what are the strategies and actions in the updated RRP? There are three main strategies: zero waste, reducing what we send to landfill; residual waste, securing landfill capacity for the long term and meeting regulatory requirements; and then financial and administrative, supporting the actions in the plan. Strategy 1 is the path to zero waste. The first action in this strategy is events and campaigns that encourage waste reduction and reuse. Second action, organic waste diversion to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and save landfill capacity. The third set of actions would be to increase participation in recycling by residents. And I'd just like to pause for a minute and spend a little bit of time talking about optimizing organic diversion, expanding curbside collection. There is going to be a food waste composting facility constructed in Creston this summer, another one constructed near Salmo, and as a result, curbside collection of food waste will be implemented in Creston, Nelson, and Castlegar in 2022. But what about the remaining households in the regional district? As I said earlier, less than 50% of households have curbside collection, and curbside collection has the highest recovery rate. So to really optimize organics diversion, we are looking at expanding curbside collection to those households just outside of the municipal boundaries, in that kind of rural-urban interface where it would make sense to collect due to distances to transfer facility or composting facilities or due to density. And this expanded curbside collection program would improve convenience for residents, would reduce costs, would increase diversion, reduce environmental footprint, and ease pressure on the landfill. The fourth set of actions would be to encourage our businesses and institutions to maximize their participation in recycling and waste reduction. The fifth set of actions would be to encourage and support the diversion and highest end use of construction, demolition, and renovation waste. 6, to encourage broad availability of extended producer responsibility programs in the RDCK and support expansion of EPR programs such as paint and light bulbs, etc. The seventh set of actions is to support the establishment of a circular economy, and finally, to continue with education and outreach to change behaviors. The second strategy deals with what's left, what's going to landfill, residual waste. The Creston landfill potentially has a 30-year lifespan, and this continued use is dependent on provincial approval, and will also need some additional land for buffer. At the Nakusp landfill, to reduce costs, this landfill will be closed in a few years and will be replaced with a transfer station. At Utashinia landfill, a study has been done to optimize the use of the site with minimal change to the final appearance. This new design will double the lifespan and lower the cost per cubic meter of landfill space. And finally, for those dumps where we used to bury or burn our waste, some sites need additional closure to ensure long-term protection of the environment. And these sites will be assessed in the next few years, and then final closure will be completed. The second action in the residual waste strategy is hazardous materials assessments for demolition and renovation projects. There is a greater awareness of the potential for exposure to hazardous materials such as asbestos from demolition and renovation projects. So to ensure safety, it's recommended that a hazardous materials assessment be required prior to disposal of demolition and renovation waste at RDCK facilities. Another component of the plan, which is really not a strategy, but it's illegal dumping. It's working with the community to reduce illegal dumping by lobbying the province for them to take more actions on prevention and enforcement and responding to illegal dumping reporting, to develop a regional interagency illegal dumping strategy, to continue the ongoing cleanup of problem sites, to support community-based initiatives, and to establish a reporting mechanism. With respect to the plan, what is it going to cost and how will it be administered? What this chart shows you is the 10-year financial plan for the West subregion. The bars in blue are the estimated expenditures over 10 years for the resource recovery system in the West subregion, including the new actions that are proposed in the resource recovery plan. The orange bar is the current revenue that has been approved in the 5-year financial plan and then extended on to 10 years. It's important to do this to look and see, are there going to be funding gaps with these new projects? And as you can see, there are gaps. The big gaps, though, are due to capital projects. And capital projects can be funded through either borrowing or through reserves. So the important issue for the gap is, what is the increase in operating expenses? And the chart to the right shows that for the West subregion, over the next 10 years, operating expenses are increasing considerably. And so the West subregion will need to look at whether taxes need to be increased, whether tipping fees need to be increased, or whether cost efficiencies need to be found to make sure that everything has been done as efficiently as possible. In the central subregion, the financial plan is looking a little brighter. The operating increase over the 10 years is fairly minimal until the final years, when there are some significant increases of 4.5% in 2030. And in the east subregion, similarly, the increases are not substantial till the latter part of the 10-year period. So based on these costs, the third strategy is dealing with financial sustainability. And if you look at the pie on the left, you can see that the biggest amount of money is spent on residual management, on landfills, protecting the environment. And so the plan has actions to, 1, consider an alternative administrative model for the resource recovery system. 3 subregions makes it very complex to manage. Undertake a system efficiency study and identify options to improve cost effectiveness and equitability. Review the subsidization of waste diversion services at resource recovery facilities, and implement asset management plans at resource recovery facilities. With these strategies and actions in place, the plan sets a new disposal target of 28% reduction. Our goal is to reduce disposal from 490 kilograms in 2020 to 360 kilograms per person per year by 2030 through reduction in reuse, through organic waste diversion, residential recycling, institutional, commercial, and industrial, EPR and household hazardous waste diversion, construction, demolition, renovation diversion, and the support for a circular economy. Thank you for listening to this presentation. There's a lot more information on the RDCK webpage. The full plan is there. But the most important thing we want you to do is fill out the feedback survey. So please go to rdck.ca/RRP for more information and to fill out the feedback survey. If you have any questions, please call us at 250-352-1576 or email us at rrp@rdck.ca. Thanks again.